We think some guests were trapped in here before the evacuation, but we didn't find remains. When my sister and I were kids, she always said her creativity came from our mother. She was right.
Even though the plumbing tested clear, React protocol is to isolate the hotel from the city's water supply.
Those spikes look like branches on the tree. Is it trying to imitate one? We found many parasite structures that integrate human forms, but there is no human tissue inside.
The spikes use a corrosive chemical and a physical component to dissolve and push through concrete.
This building was built around the same time as the statue. I bet it shares some structural materials.
Police reports say there was a shooting here just before the outbreak. We're investigating to see if it's related.
By shattering the glass inwards, React reduces the threat of falling glass injuries on the ground.
Trees are a natural purifier, and this airlock was designed to help it thrive. It also serves as a morale booster for React personnel.
If you go MIA, stasis foam coats your body in a hard, impenetrable shell, giving React time to rescue you.
We think the carapace is linked to the power system here, but it's not drawing any power. We aren't sure if this nest carapace skin is caused by maturation or if they are an entirely new type of nest.
Standard NBC hazard suits provide adequate contamination resistance, but are not as robust as operator PPE.
At the start, the spikes grew at a rate of 200 square feet per minute. Now they just seem to be gaining mass. One of the comms officers told me Lady Liberty souvenirs are worth a fortune now. Seems pretty ghoulish to me.
I bet the people coming over looking for hope in a new land never expected any of this to happen. Some survivors hid out in the freezer during the outbreak. We got to them just before the Archies showed up.
I'm told it took a force equivalent to a 1.5 kiloton explosion to rip the head off. It's like a small nuke.
I'm looking at this model and trying to see a pattern in the parasite's attack. It's either random or beyond my understanding.
React provides secure sanitary facilities so researchers maximize time spent in the hot zone.
The museum was about to open an exhibit. NYC, Liberty's Safe Harbor. Pretty ironic now.
We averted disaster thanks to this crane truck preventing that pillar from falling. It's also a reminder that we'll be back to rebuild.
React scientists can use airlock labs like this one to acquire key data. Most of them leave as quickly as they came in.
Nests are like DNA libraries, organic factories, and wombs all rolled into one. Nasty, but very cool.
The Smasher has biochemistry similar to some coral polyps, creating its formidable armor. Many React ground vehicles have Cameleo paint that can disguise them as civilian vehicles.
Reports say that car was actually moving when it was impaled. The driver didn't get out in time.
React has police reports of the K-9 unit barking incessantly before the parasite broke ground to cause havoc.
City Hall was sure crime would rise during this crisis, but New Yorkers have really pulled together. We evacuated a 6-block radius around each hot zone. So far, the cordon's held, but the press wants in.
That's a lot of files. However, The entire police archive is only a fraction compared to the size of data within my React database.
Another bizarre parasitical manifestation. There's some kind of high-temperature fluid circulating inside it.
During containment, we send engineers in to brace structures weakened by the spikes.
The lurker controls its own chromatophores and that of others. The specialized skin cells can induce camouflage.
CLX-24 air filtration pumps are standard in our airlocks. The CDC also uses them in Level 5 Biohazard Labs.
I'm told these aberrant nests make proteins and enzymes for the neoplasms. They're just nasty to me.
This very type sample receptacle can preserve tissue, mineral, and artifact samples for up to 96 hours.
We see thick carapace growth around singularities, but don't know if they're part of the phenomenon or simply attracted to it.
Standard issue react chemical lights luminesce in the visible, infrared, and ultraviolet spectrums.
I'm told that most spike growth is random. Whatever the reason, use them. They make decent cover.
We don't know where the meteor shard is now. Our best guess is that the carapace absorbed it somehow.
The sower can plant organic mines similar in function to stun grenades.
We have collected parasite samples from various objects and locations, but we are still analyzing where they originated from.
Man, I wish we were dealing with little gray aliens. The parasite is worse than any fictional alien we dreamed up.
People tried to block the spread of the parasite as best they could. Unfortunately, some ended up boxing themselves in.
If we focus on all the weird parasite stuff, we miss the big picture. People used to live here. Life here was hard on some people, but it still had a vibrant way of life.
We're exposing samples to different gas mixes. Maybe we'll learn where it comes from or what killed it. We're running that experiment in several airlocks. It should tell us how the parasite affects plunger. Every operator that goes MIA ends up in one of these structures. But so far, it can't get through the stasis foam.
The use of ultra-tough, cut, burn, and chemical-resistant membranes are integral to React containment strategy.
Besides NASA and the ESO, React has several corporate partners who donate next-gen tech, like this DNA sequencer.
Wow. Index is picking up some major gravitational fluctuation coming from that structure.
In all the hot zones, we find evidence of firefights and casualties, but hardly any remains. It's downright creepy.
This company was trying to land a robot probe on the dark side of the moon to search for water. They were building a probe to land a robot on the moon when the parasite attacked. I hope that's coincidence.
Several exotic materials were used to construct that rocket. One of them must have attracted the parasite.
React makes efforts to be carbon neutral and energy independent. There are many ways of saving the world. All equipment React analysts and operators might need is pre-staged on-site in biometrically locked cases.
That satellite was scheduled to go up with next-gen ground-penetrating sensors. We sure could use it now.
Now, these guys are trying to start a new age of space exploration. Seems like they didn't have to look far.
These structures seem to refine and manufacture parasite nutrients right out of the air.
To protect rescued personnel, the extraction pod has a full medical suite and is armored like a tank.
Something inside these neoplasms is either precious or fragile, hence the thick, hard shell. Ugh.
All emergency departments were deployed, but this was something beyond anything they've seen before. They didn't stand a chance.
Looks like there was some unsavory stuff going on here. But since the infestation, none of that matters.
It looks pretty calm out there. That's because we evacuated a 6-block radius around the hot zone.
It doesn't appear that exposure to the parasite affects plant life as negatively as contact with human skin. I'm not sure what's scarier. That it looks like a well-known piece of artwork, or that it contains 3 kinds of unidentifiable DNA.
Oh, be careful with that. It contains a high explosive caustic payload, which utterly destroys parasite structures.
This terrace was packed when the Archeans showed up. Evacuating must have been a nightmare.
The scientists abandoned these plant specimens to escape the Archeans. Hopefully some samples are still viable.
The server room aboard the Pioneer is significantly larger. This is evident from the amount of data React must process. Many airlocks are stocked with temperature-resistant gear rated to 4,000 degrees Celsius.
We didn't get to that scientist quickly enough. This is the price of our mission. And failure.
Biofilm is much more than slimy goo. It moves, grows, and reacts to stimuli. Do not underestimate its threat.
The capture net stuns Archean subjects within 0.03 seconds, and keeps them docile during transport.
This landscape looks so serene. Too bad Orpheus showed up and ruined it with their experiments. Now, weed and kale aren't the only things this farm produced. That's a moonshine still.
They think that spike's large size is due to the farm's nutrient-rich soil. Or maybe it has something special in it.
React body armor utilizes non-Newtonian fluid that is light and flexible, but hardens under impact.
This whole place used to be a spiritual retreat before Orpheus took it over to support their lab in the silo.
This aberration is inert and fossilized. Maybe it originated from the meteor that was discovered here.
React can fit negative air pressure systems that minimize toxin transmission to almost any structure. The Spiker's ballistic spikes are razor sharp and can be flung at velocities similar to high-caliber sniper bullets.
Seems they were studying fossilized DNA they found in the Eurydice meteor, but stopped after the TRC outbreak.
That's a coordinate tachyon detector, which is pretty strange to find in a Cold War missile silo. This silo is an ideal place to study cosmic rays. It's isolated and shielded against outside radiation.
What's a Cold War bunker without an abandoned train tunnel? GPS says it heads off towards the Orpheus research station. We put airlocks wherever the best site is. Even an old-timey cooperage, where they made wooden barrels.
React blades combine monomolecular sharpness with a self-sterilizing biopsy needle for easy sample collection.
In this experiment, we want to see if the parasite causes identical mutations in cloned plants.
This is aimed at the moon's dark phase transit. Someone was trying to see the moon's dark side.
These clever auto trackers position themselves inside parasite nests. We get great data, and you don't get messy. Apparently, this thing sings different frequencies depending on the phase of the moon.
They had people stationed up here for 5, 6 months. They would need all the entertainment they could get. Tracked vehicles are the only way to get around when winter hits. And if it's bad, even they get stuck.
Since their mainframe crashed, we can only roughly determine what they were looking at. The Oort cloud past Pluto.
We can get down to minus 60 degrees Celsius up here. You gotta dress warm to go outside.
Those ceiling aberrations are ultra dense and heavy. We have no idea how they stay up.
Orpheus is a huge tech company with interests in biotech, quantum computers, and high-speed satellite internet.
Now, records say that meteor was dug up in Antarctica, and the parasite isn't all over it. Interesting. To slow the spread of the Archeans, we install secure reactors throughout every hot zone.
The hot zone presents a unique infection risk. Injuries must be cleaned and dressed immediately.
Replacement and additional construction supplies are positioned in at least one location inside the hot zone. The router's underground root claws function as both a defense and to collect raw materials from the soil.
We've managed to implant sensors on all these bizarre structures. The ones we found, at least.
Apparently, the ocean is no impediment to the parasite. We've got to assume it's moving along the bottom.
All React equipment has clear and simple instructions to ensure smooth function in any environment.
Even though we can predict the parasite's dormant cycle 85% of the time, it's not good enough. Ask those two scientists.
This purification plant uses lasers to vaporize water under high pressure, filtering all impurities down to the subatomic level.
We know that the parasite is attracted to some minerals and metals, but apparently gold is not one of them.
The flight plan says they were trying to escape the Orpheus site. Imagine the parasite going active at 25,000 feet.
I'm told this your objective can't be far. Try a recon tool if you've got one.
Sometimes newer doesn't mean better. Those levers are over 100 years old, and I bet still work.
These military tents served as temporary labs until React finished building the airlocks.
The Grun's the most common Archean unit. Possibly because it takes the least resources to create.
They're testing to see if dialysis can clean parasite toxins from the blood. Looks promising. This device injects high-pressure stasis foam into the parasite substructure, blocking nutrient channels.
All React equipment has clear and simple instructions to ensure smooth function in any environment.
At first we tried modifying spacecraft airlocks, but it turns out submarine locks are stronger.
3D spatial algorithms help React logistics pack all necessary equipment with 36% less wasted space.
The local police tried to keep order, but there were just too many terrified, sick people.
This guy thought the doctors would see him sooner if he crashed in. Instead, he made things worse. Towards the end, people took any pills they could find, hoping to stop the infection. And nothing did.
These heavy steel gates probably did little to stop the parasite, but hopefully they slowed it enough for people to get to safety.
I'm in awe of what those old-timers accomplished without any of our high-tech and advanced equipment.
Some redneck with a rifle thought he could make the pilot fly him out. It didn't work out that way.
React uses ultraband microwave repeaters to maintain contact with operators at all times.
Level 5 containment seemed like it would be enough. We never expected the parasite to come out of the ground.
This bioreactor can withstand extremes of heat and pressure without leakage. It is secure even now.
Boyd, or at least what was left of him, was contained in there. Looks like the parasite totally absorbed it.
The Apex is the only Archean modal that can spawn other Archean units. The reasons for this are unclear.
We're exposing the carapace to high pressure, but nothing seems to bother El Parásito.
This barrier reinforcement utilizes phase state metamaterials that resist both high shear and crush forces.
Even in a secret lab, set up under a containment zone, there's no escaping security checkpoints. The vet center custodian won't need any of his tools anytime soon. Archie's taking care of the place now.
During the outbreak event, almost all inhabitants inside the city limits were infected. Over 6,000 people perished.
All these Archeans crawling around give new meaning to Roach Motel. Carapace is so tough, almost nothing even dents it. You go into the ring with Carapace, the Carapace wins.
There are many factors that affect carapace size and shape. However, I don't think access to alcohol is one of them.
Lots of people try to ram their way out of a containment zone. It almost never works. With all the crazy conspiracy theories out there, no one predicted the parasite.
The parasite generates a field that jams all weak signals, rendering some comms useless.
Look up. See the point where the spikes merge? That's where Boyd's car is.
The seismic station not only detects ultra-low frequencies, but can triangulate and cancel seismic events.
Parasite activity patterns seem dense around these arc spines. We're still analyzing if it's another parasite mutation.
Even in the most severe hot zone, React cares about the environment. Please recycle whenever safe or possible.
These next-gen recon drones are great. Easier to drive, and the resolution is better than earlier versions.
Boyd underwent the first stages of parasite transformation right here. He was already past saving by then.
Look at all the carapace. That's what years of growth at Ground Zero gets you.
This is where an auto mechanic named Boyd brought the wrecked Soviet space capsule he found in the desert. Some patients were evacuated quickly, but it came at a high cost for others.
Sensors inside the capsule still send valuable data to React analysts.
Generally, we don't leave any ordnance lying around unsecured, but I don't think anybody will be stealing it.
This well dates back to the 1600s. The rest of the Hacienda is relatively new, at only 150 years old.
The lab guys say the wine should be okay since it's sealed airtight, but you won't catch me risking it.
We put that server in during the outbreak event. It's still running under extreme conditions, after all these years.
The Tormentor can quickly travel both through the sprawl and a normal soil matrix.
Scan grenades emit a pulse of energy that makes Archeans actually resonate, outlining them on your HUD.